Hey everyone, welcome back to Sensor Secrets. I plan on being here every Tuesday, sharing some real world tips from my over 20 years in the sensor and automation industry. All right, on today's Sensor Secrets, we're gonna take a look at precision. What is it? We're gonna look at the accuracy, resolution, repeatability, and linearity, and the importance of this 1 sigma number that we're going to take a look in a lot of our data sheets. Expect bad data 32% of the time. Now, I'll explain what that means, but that's something we need to take a look at. So I'll just take an example here. I've done a couple of the examples with the W10, and there's a lot of information in here that I appreciate, including getting down into resolution, repeatability, and accuracy. And we're going to take a look here at these footnotes. Now we're going to look at 90% remission factor. That is on a white target and equivalent to 1 sigma. So I think that's very important that we look at this 1 sigma number to know where our data is going to be. What do we really expect for measurement? And take a look at another video here. I did very specifically on this 1 sigma number. So that's a part of all this, but let's just even back this up and say resolution, repeatability, and accuracy. What are they? Why are they important? So a sensor's resolution is defined as how finely the sensor divides the distance over its sensing range. So I'm just reading off the screen here. Think of it as how many divisions there are in a ruler. So if you're wanting to measure something down to 1 inch, you need to have inch marks. If you want to measure something down to 1/8 of an inch, you should have 1/8 inch marks, 16ths therefore. So if the position that you need to measure each time the target moves, let's say 1 millimeter, you're looking for, hey, I need to know what the thickness is or the movement is down to 1 millimeter. Then a sensor with a resolution of 5 millimeters won't work because you can move anywhere in that 5 millimeter range and the output doesn't change. Higher resolution sensors typically cost more. But it also reduces the measurement span, especially of triangulation sensors. With triangulation sensors, we only have so many, segments on a receiver, and the finer we get that, the higher the resolution, that span that it can move really shortens up. Then let's take a look at repeatability. A sensor's repeatability is defined as how well the sensor can arrive at the same value over and over and over again. So if you measure it, write that down. Do it again, measure it again, measure it again, measure it again with the same ruler, or in this case, the same sensor. How repeatable is that? And we can often tear this out. We can give it an offset, and if it's repeatable, we can kind of move where the accuracy or the actual number is. And this is really often what a lot of people want. We got to make sure that there's a resolution that's at or greater than what you're looking for. But they're really looking for that repeatability. How sloppy is the data, or how very precise and repeatable it is? Because if it's repeatable, you can do stuff with it. So repeatability is also much better on white targets. That footnote that mentioned 90% target, that's on a white target. And it's about getting signal out of the noise. So a white target gives you more signal, and it gives us a better way of measuring it. Then in accuracy. This is actually what we hear a lot of people asking for. How accurate is that sensor? I need an accuracy of a certain amount. It's defined as how well the sensor can determine the absolute distance to its target. So now we're looking at an absolute measurement. Are we saying it's 1.000 millimeters? And if we take something out and we measure it, is it actually 1.00 or is it off? Linearity is a subset of accuracy. Is the accuracy of the sensor the same throughout the whole measurement range or span? Or is it actually better in the middle of the range and maybe worse towards the edge? It could be very repeatably wrong, and we'll get to that in a second. It's the amount of deviation of a measurement from an idealized straight line, and we'll show the graphics here. The negative effect of non-linearity being off that line. It's often repeatable, and so it can be mitigated using lookup tables. All right, so let's take a look at this in some picture format. A lot of people have some experience shooting something, whether it's darts or archery. So accuracy, that's what we often think of. That's what we often get asked about, is how accurate is this, or I need a certain accuracy. Are you hitting the bullseye? It is what it should be. It's 1.000 millimeters. Am I getting that number? Repeatability says, okay, I'm off. I'm not hitting the bullseye. I'm not hitting 1.000, but oh my goodness, every time I do it, I'm repeatable to 0.0001. I'm just shifted off. And that's why you can tear it out or use offsets to just move that, just like you would adjusting your dart throwing or adjusting something on a scope. If it's repeatable, great. Now you can shift it. And that's what we do in automation as well, is we shift it to give it the answer we're really looking for, what we really want it to be. And then resolution, that you can't do much about. You can't really adjust that. That is fixed by the sensor, how well it can do time of flight measurements, the breakup of the CMOS receiver on a triangulation sensor. It is either kind of how spread apart the rings are. I've seen it that way. Like, okay, anywhere in this whole range is one answer, or is it really highly divided up? The other way I've seen it is the size of the arrow. How big of an arrow is this? Is it a little thing, little pins, and getting very precise and high resolution, or is it just like a big baseball size thing? And it's like, somewhere in here. Statistically, if we take a look at this, if we measure, even if it's not a measurement sensor, it's just a regular photo eye giving you an on and off, there's still measuring going on inside there. So when we measure that, we look at this distribution, a normal distribution. Typically, there's other types of distributions, but for the heck of it, we'll call it a normal or a Gaussian distribution. What's the average? What's the mean? How far off from an actual, let's say, ruler value with the absolute truth of that distance? And then the resolution is the size of the bars. All right, so hopefully that helps with that a little bit. Let's now look at this straight line curve. So every time I move an inch, my output should change an inch. Move 2 inches, move 2 inches. Move 0.0001, move a micron, it should move a micron. And it should be a nice straight line. That's what we would want it to be. That's what a ruler or tape measure would do, given it's printed perfectly. However, when we actually measure the values using the sensor, it may not be linear. It might be very repeatable, but it may not be on the line. And the maximum distance between that straight line and what we're actually measuring, that is a nonlinearity. That is a part of the accuracy spec that's in there. So if linearity is not spec'd, it's there, it's just lumped into accuracy. But sometimes we'll give accuracy or maybe just linearity. But what you can do, if the repeatability is there, it will follow this trace, this curve within that repeatability error, and you can use a lookup table in a PLC or in a computer processor, whatever it is, that says, all right, I'm getting this value out of my sensor. That actually is equal to this absolute value or this relative value in space even. So the repeatable nonlinearity can be dealt with. Let's take a look at the little fourth of the footnote, this 1 sigma. What this says is statistically, as we're doing those measurements, it follows this Gaussian bell curve. There's other distributions. 68% of those values fall within 1 sigma. And that's what data sheets are calling out when they say to 1 sigma. The rest of the data, that's not 68% of the time, 32% of the time, will fall outside of that range. So it's no longer going to be an accuracy of 1 millimeter. You're going to get data about 32% of the time that fall outside of that range. And then you can break it down even more and say, well, 95% of the time, it's going to be within the 2 sigma and then 3. The higher the precision is of a sensor, the peakier this curve gets. So the better the sensor, the less spread out it is, and you get more values to the number you're looking for. The important takeaway from this and the other video is if you're looking to measure something within a millimeter, like you need to know, is it 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters? You need to not just get a sensor that has a repeatability or accuracy spec to that 1 millimeter, because 33% of the times you're going to miss it. It's going to be sloppier than that. You need it now to find a sensor that's a 0.5 millimeter. And so that 99% of the time, you're going to get the information you're looking for. So again, if you don't, expect bad data 32% of the time. So there's a really cool video I'm going to play for you here that shows this distribution. Take each one of those little balls there. That is a measurement going on inside the sensor. That's a value. And we can see how they will fall into that. There's a whole lot of science and numbers and math and stats going on in there. But basically, this is what we're looking at here, is that as they fall down in here, these are measurement values we're getting. There will be some that fall outside of that 1 sigma range. So again, looking for a super high precision sensor, or just whatever precision, don't just look at that one number, take a look at that 1 sigma. Most of the time the values will be in that, but sometimes the values will be outside of that range, and that's okay, as long as we know what we're looking for. So for more details on these types of sensors, check out my other videos, especially the sensor selection one. It's pretty long, but you can skip through to the different chapters to find the part that's interesting to you and help you get to the right family and the right sensor to test out. So I hope this helps you choose the right sensor for your application. Please hit the subscribe button and come back next Tuesday for more sensor secrets. And please keep those questions coming in the chat. See you next time.